Hi, I'm Joyce, the Energy Lady. Today I'm going to talk about things that trigger us. Because if you understand the word trigger, it means something that occurs, an event, a word that's said, a person, and it reminds you of an experience from the past. And so a trigger can be traumatic or it can be like, oh, that reminds me of whatever, okay? And so when you get triggered by something, I say it hooks you. Kind of like when you're throwing out the line when you're fishing, you're trying to hook that fish. Okay, when you first get that hook, when you get that fish on the hook, what do? You tug, I don't know if you fish, but anyway, you tug on the rod to hook it so it's tight, so it hooks it in the lip so that you can reel it in. That's the same thing with triggers. When something triggers you, whether it be, like I said, an image, it could be something you saw on TV, in a movie, it could be something somebody said that's totally not related to you. Somebody out there that said something. It could be something you saw in a store. Anything that reminds you of that past experience. Triggers can be good too. You know, you could see a beautiful picture of a ocean and a palm tree, and it'll remind you of a wonderful experience you had in Cancun or Hawaii. And so, but the triggers that trigger you that are painful, that's because you have some unfinished past. Okay. Our past, our things happen in the present. We store them away in our past. But when we store them away in our past and we haven't completed that conversation with them, we've just shoved them down. We haven't dealt with them. We haven't addressed them. We've just shoved them down. So they become a conversation in the past. And they keep showing up with things that remind you of that experience. I will share with you something that I recently worked with somebody who grew up in Iraq and was there as a teenager in the Iraqi war. They saw some really traumatic things, okay, while they were there. They are currently now an American, live here, and they are triggered by what's going on in the war right now. That's not surprising, right? So because that did not get completed, that past painful conversation didn't get completed, it is showing back up in their life today, years later as an adult. And so that's what happens when you don't complete your conversations that are painful. Yes, painful things happen and we don't want to talk about them. We don't want to look at it. We don't want to deal with it. And I hear a lot of people say, I don't want to deal with it. I'm just shoving it down. And they do. But shoving it down doesn't make it go away. It's just like the dust under the rug. When you lift that rug, the dust is still there. Same thing. When something shows up, whether it be a war, whether it be a person, whether it be an image, that conversation is going to pop right back up and be right in your face. And all that stuff's going to come up again. So a couple of things to do with triggers when you get triggered by something. First of all, identify it. Recognize, oh, this is a trigger. This is something I have not dealt with. This is something I've heard before. Write it down, okay? Another way is you can actually cut the cords to that, or if it's an image, you can cut the cords up here. Another way is to say some forgiveness for yourself for whatever took place that didn't get completed, whatever it was that triggered you, that you shoved under the rug, say a bunch of forgiveness for that. Those are some ways of addressing it. I also suggest you make an appointment with me because I help people who do get triggered by things, who need to find resolution because they've been shoving it down for so many years that it just keeps popping up and it's disrupting their peace. Anything that's disrupting your peace needs to be worked through because it'll continue to show up until you look at it. So That's my conversation about triggers today. You can book a session with me on my website if there's something that's coming up for you that you'd like to address, that you have never addressed. It's unfinished. That's what I do. Have a great day.